Now we're going to cut the fuel line on. You need to use something like this so you don't cause sparks, because there's fuel in this line. You can see some dripping out now. Nothing that causes sparks like a grinder wheel or a die grinder or something. You end up with a fire, and those usually suck, and that sure cuts it off real smooth. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to flare the end of that line a little bit so that when I do put a some 5/16 fuel line over it, put a hose clamp, it'll have something to push up against so that it doesn't come loose. I got the flaring tool on the line, so all we want to do is just widen that end a little bit. We're not trying to make a fitting that will seal off on like a flare fitting. We just want that to widen out just a little bit at the end, so that when we do put a rubber line up over it, it'll have something to push against. It won't just slide off like it would if it was just a smooth line. Doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be a lot. Just a little bit that you put a hose clamp on a rubber line, it'll have a end to push against. Go one more little turn. I think that'll be it. Yeah, I think it's. I think that's good enough. Let's look. Yeah, see it widened that end just a little bit. I gotta raise the level up on that line, siphoning all the gas out of the gas tank. Yeah, you can see the flared end now just a little bit. Just right. So it won't push off. Now we just gotta put the fuel pump and filter. We're gonna put the filter on there and then the pump. Okay. I already run the fuel line. Kind of hard to do it while I was filming, so I went ahead and did it. Now we just go back over and show you what I did. I just cut the fuel line off right there. There's the, take a little couple inches of fuel line, connect the filter first. You want the filter first because it's an older vehicle and you don't know what kind of trash is in the tank. And you don't want this pump to, you don't want it to suck some trash off of the bottom of the tank, and then because there's some really small orifices in these pumps, and they'll get seized up pretty easily. So we just secured it. Where you can see, we just secured it down there to the frame. It's going to suck fuel through the filter. The fuel will be filtered before it goes into the pump. We run some fuel line all the way around. Got it suspended in the back there, hanging from the firewall with some clips just to kind of keep it up out of the way. And it hooks directly to the back of the throttle body. Got electrical connectors for the fuel pump. It's already made onto it right here. It'll plug directly into the wiring harness. That's kind of where we're at now. We got the throttle body on. Fuel supply line is connected, clamped down. The clamp was kind of loose, so I added some rubber under that clamp. It's hard to see it down in a pretty tight hole. But this strap here, there's a rubber strip around it, and it was still a little loose, so I stacked some rubber under it. Kind of made it a little tighter. So it's pretty solid now. Solid enough. We got to run a return line from right there. We run a return line from there, and there's another line down there that goes back to the tank. Part of the emission system. It's made for vapors, but it's a metal line, so it'll carry the excess fuel back to the tank. So we'll get that part going, and then we'll start on the wiring. And now we're under the truck. Gonna work on the return line. This is just part of the emissions line that goes from the carbon canister. It's designed to carry gas fumes back to the tank. But the only thing that we're concerned with is that it goes back to the tank. This is where the excessive fuel that the motor doesn't need to run, this is where it'll go. Pretty cool how that works. Now, there won't be much pressure on this. A little bit. Just a partial of what's on the main fuel supply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flare it a little bit anyway, and we'll hook a line to it, run it up to the back of the throttle body. Okay, we got the line flared. It's not pretty, but like I said, we're not yanking it a flare fitting. We're just doing that so that it'll, under pressure, clamp should loosen a little bit. It'll have a stop before it'll actually push off and start spraying fuel. So we're going to run that right up there. There's the bottom of the intake. We're going to run it right up there to the back of the throttle body. And that part will be done. Now we're going to mount our O2 sensor. Luckily, it's got a plug right under the throttle body, right under the intake on the edge of the manifold. Chances are we won't get as lucky as that. I had a plug for the O2 sensor to screw into. Now we'll just get the O2 sensor and we will thread it right back into that. Gotta have this. This is the messenger. This tells the computer what's going on down here with the fuel mixture and all that. So we gotta have this. Without this, the computer wouldn't know how to adjust the mixture. You want it to be about 14:1 air fuel mixture. It's ideal. This is a special socket strictly for O2 sensors. Sometimes I think a 7/8 wrench works just as good. If not better. there it is. O2 sensor is mounted. So that'll go over that. That'll read the amount of oxygen in the exhaust, or the lack of. Send the information through this wire back to the computer. Computer senses if there's too much fuel, it will close. It'll leave the. It won't let the injector stay open as long. But we're talking milliseconds. You won't ever be able to see the difference. And if it sees that it's not getting enough gas, if there's too much air, it'll leave the injectors open a little longer. All of that information goes right through that O2 sensor. There we go. I think it's about time to start the wiring harness now.